Oh no, wrong thing. There we go. What's up, folks? I'm back. It's been a minute since I've done one of these podcasts. Let me make sure before I get rocking and rolling, get the juices flowing. I gotta make sure that everything is connected. And it looks like we are live on the YouTube end of side or end of side, YouTube side of things. YouTube end. You just see it pop up. Okay, cool. So as you guys can tell, things are a little bit different. I did a podcast probably like a week ago and I had messed up the audio a little bit, so that kind of sucked. So I didn't. I just kind of. I mean, there was no audio at all, so I had to take that one down. But here we are back again. I got a little bit of a different setup, hopefully a higher quality setup. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I was sitting around. I was like, I'd probably been waiting here for like 30 minutes to actually do this podcast. I've been like really nervous. I don't know why. Like I mentioned, it's been my first podcast, or this is my first podcast in a while. Maybe that's what it is. But I was just sitting here and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And then I finally was just like, I got to jump in and do it. Which I don't know. That's a life lesson actually. I feel like people need to. That's a lot of. A lot of people have goals and things, myself included. I do this a lot with things, but it's obviously a constant pursuit of just like waiting for the right time. There's no right time usually. You just got to do it. I was sitting there waiting for the right things to say or right things to come to my mind, and I don't know. Best thing to do is just hop in and do it. Now I'm doing it. And I'm talking about me how I was sitting there hesitating. So now I have stuff to talk about. But yeah, you guys can tell lighting's different. Camera's different. I don't know if it's going to be a bit choppy. Like I said, I messed up last week because I hadn't been doing this in a while. But now I got a new setup, so things are probably going to be a little bit different. It's going to take some adjusting. So maybe some things may be off. I don't know. Let me know in the comments um, if there are some things that are out of sync or whatever. But it's been an interesting time in MMA. There really hasn't been. I mean, there hasn't been any fights actually in probably over a month now at this point. But there's still been a lot of MMA news. I can't flip and talk for some reason. Phil Baroni is arrested, former UFC fighter. Got arrested for murder. That's pretty messed up. Also, Jake Paul, actually, probably the biggest topic is Jake Paul signing with the PFL. Says he's going to fight in MMA in 2023, which is interesting to me. I mean, I applaud him for it. I think it's a very cool thing to do. I've done a whole video actually. I uploaded on Monday, I think, Monday, Tuesday, pretty much touching on this subject. It was a quick video, like 2 minutes. I'm not going to get too involved in it in this podcast, but basically, I don't know. I'm just interested to see who he's going to fight. I kind of wish he was fighting in like an actual MMA weight division because they've made some like super fight pay-per-view division or whatever, which I think is kind of dumb because then it just sounds like YouTube boxing to me because like it's not really like I don't know. It's just like bending the rules. Just like do what the sport does. Go to middleweight, fight a light heavyweight, something like that, um, and just actually go about the sport like other people do it. But nonetheless, I'll be a sucker. I'm gonna watch. I'm definitely gonna pay attention to whoever he fights and whenever he fights. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know who's. I'm curious who it's gonna be because I don't think they can do like a bunch of cans like they do with Clarissa Shields or some of the people they try to build up in MMA. I can't say MMA for some reason today, but I feel like it's gonna have to be somebody with a name, maybe a washed-up UFC fighter like Anthony Pettis that's already in PFL. Nate Diaz, a free agent. A lot of people think that Nate Diaz would actually lose against Jake Paul in MMA, which is interesting to me because I mean, yeah, in boxing, undoubtedly, I would say at this point probably I would say Jake Paul would beat Nate Diaz in boxing. Just overalls in the sport and based on I don't know like just Nate's style isn't good for boxing. He'll get hit a bunch. He may not get knocked out, but he'll just get beat on points. Uh, but in MMA, I think Nate's just got way more tools. I mean his jiu-jitsu alone, he has no wrestling. Like yeah, that's a understood thing, but his jiu-jitsu, if the fight does go to the ground, and people seem to think that like Jake Paul can grapple because he wrestled in high school, which high school wrestling is definitely a lot better than. I mean, your high school wrestler could probably mess up your average person that doesn't know how to grapple easily, yeah. But we're talking about people that are like, I mean, somebody with a high school wrestling background at maximum versus somebody that has fought against like UFC caliber guys, D1 wrestlers like. There's like Nate Diaz would be the superior wrestler in my opinion against Jake Paul. Maybe not, but Jake Paul's not going to do anything that Nate Diaz definitely hasn't seen before. And then in terms of like jujitsu as well, like even if Jake Paul, which I don't think he has been training jujitsu for the same amount of time that he's been boxing for like 4 years. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for it'll be 5 years next month, I think. Yeah, it's coming up on 5 years. So I've been doing jiu-jitsu. Even if he has been doing jiu-jitsu for as long as me, even though I've been doing it like maybe a year longer than him, potentially a year longer than him. There's absolutely I would not feel like I could be at a level of like competing against UFC caliber guys, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, a very legit black belt in Nate Diaz or Anthony Pettis for that matter. Um, I don't know, unless you're like some freak of nature like Nicky Rod or BJ Penn. There's some very rare people that can do that kind of stuff, but overall, grappling and jiu-jitsu takes time, takes years. I mean, there's a reason it takes basically a decade to get your black belt in jiu-jitsu because it's not easy. It's not like karate or something where you get your forms down and whatever, and you get your flipping black belt because there's a lot more layers and there's I don't know. I could go on a whole spiel about that, but yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's kind of quick, but I applaud him for it because I mean he's got balls. That you can't deny that the guy's got balls for doing something like that. Also, too, Zabit Magomed Sharipov talked about possibly coming back to MMA, which I think would be amazing. I think now is honestly the best time because it's kind of a interesting. I think Volk is kind of at a point where like he seems unbeatable, and I've talked to people about this before, where I think there's a point when like at this point that Volk's at. I mean, Kamaru was at that point. Adesanya was at that point where they really just look like nobody's going to beat them, and it's like this guy might be the GOAT. Like this guy, who's going to beat this guy? Nobody's going to beat. Like he looks like the best fighter in the world, and then that's usually when they lose. I think obviously I really think Volk's going to lose against Islam. To be completely honest with you, I think he could probably pose a really really good threat, but I think. What's up, Garrett? How's it going? Nice to see you in the chat. I think that I don't know. Islam's too big. He's the bigger guy and the bigger grappler and a very very good grappler at that. I think it's interesting to see how it'll be interesting to see how Volk handles that. But I don't think he's going to offer anything. He'll probably lose against Islam. But even if he doesn't, he goes and he'll still have his. I mean, even if he does or doesn't, he'll still have his featherweight belt, and he'll be defending that against probably the winner of the Yair and Josh Emmett fight, which he'll definitely probably beat whoever that is. Yair's a tough dude, but I think Volk will eventually wear on him. But it'll be interesting to see Zabit come back because Zabit could go against somebody like Max Holloway. That would be a massive fight. It'd be a really fun fight because Max is in a really interesting spot in his career because like he can't really fight for the belt anymore as long as Volk's champion. And even if Zabit or if Volk still has the belt when Zabit if he somehow fights his way towards a title fight, that would be a massive fight in and of itself. It would really rejuvenate the division. I don't know. It'd be nice to see Zabit come back. But I don't know. I mean, he's talked about it, but I haven't really seen any motion or anything kind of getting a substance. What else? Demir Ismagulov retired as well. That was kind of a surprise. I mean, he was like a really he was kind of an unknown prospect, but a very very highly touted prospect for the people that did know about him. I thought he was a really good fighter. I only saw him fight like 3 times, but like if anybody with an eye for MMA that's watched a lot of MMA fights knows what a high level fighter looks like. He's obviously very very high level. His grappling very high level, striking obviously up there as well. He had a very entertaining fight against Arman Sakarian. I think he got injured in that fight, and I think that was part of the reason why he had retired because he had been struggling with injuries, and that's also part of the reason why I didn't really see him fight too much. And a lot of I guess MMA fans in general, UFC fans, didn't see him fight too much because he was dealing with injuries, I guess, all the time. How about Khabib retiring from coaching? I did see that. I'm kind of not surprised. I don't know if Khabib just got like this weird ego where he really likes retiring on top because he retired on top in MMA. Now got the like coach of the year, whatever, for I think it was MMA Junkie Coach of the Year, may have been ESPN MMA Coach of the Year, and then he retires on top. I think he's just got a thing now for retiring on top. He wants to be the best. But it also makes sense because like he kind of got like his goal was to get Islam as champion, which was his father's goal or whatever, which makes sense because I mean that was kind of his big motivator for retiring from MMA, and then he basically did what his dad set out to do and completed that for him. And he's pretty much spent the past 10 years, I would imagine, as just training MMA away from his family. So I guess it makes sense. He's got money. He's basically done everything he's wanted to do. He's a very accomplished man, basically, in now both of his careers as a fighter and as a coach. Why not spend some time with your family? Because he probably, like I said, hasn't done that much in the past 10 years, especially being away in like California training at AKA. when I know his family definitely doesn't go with him. I'm fairly certain, stay in Russia. So that makes sense. He's definitely got the. I'm kind of surprised, but if anybody deserves to do that, it's definitely him. I definitely imagine though he'll be in Islam's corner. He'll probably be cornering Islam, but he won't be in like all the other, I guess, not as popular guys or not as highly ranked guys. But I don't know. We'll see. His cousin Umar fights this weekend, which actually I'll get into all that here in a second. The card, and I got a podcast parlay for you guys, which also reminds me as well. Anybody, if you guys have followed me for a minute, if you guys follow my Instagram, if you guys even been in my Discord, you guys know I'm pretty good with UFC betting. UFC betting's been something that I've done for pretty much as long as I've been doing this channel. Um, I'm pretty good with it. I'm really good with UFC underdogs, and if you guys have been following me, you guys would know that. And now it's at to the point where I'm like this. I'm giving out so much free value. It's kind of like I don't know. I decided to start a Patreon. Basically, I want to get some money for the free value I'm giving out. But no, I decided to start a Patreon. I think there's a lot of value in the Patreon because there's 3 to 4 UFC cards every single month, and it's the Patreon's $5. That $5 you will literally make back the first weekend, and then the next 2-3 weeks after that is just sheer profit. And even if you break even, whatever, you have 2 or 3 other opportunities past that to make your money back. And like I said, I promise you'll make your money back. I'm really, really good. One underdog hit the whole month, you'll make your money back. Also, too, on there, I'll be posting a weekly vlog, basically just kind of like a behind the scenes, my life. I do some fairly interesting things, some jiu-jitsu stuff. I'll post some diet stuff. Maybe even some like reaction stuff, me watching the fights, basically whatever I don't post to my YouTube channel. Also, as well, I'll be doing some like voting privileges. You guys can basically ask me questions for the podcast, vote on podcast topics, vote on video ideas. Basically, think of it as like you're a shareholder in my YouTube channel, and you can now basically have say in board meetings or whatever you want to call it. But Patreon. Link in the description. It's also linked on my channel. It's linked on my Instagram. If you guys go to my link tree, basically just look for that. Sign up. $5 a month. It's the best $5 value you can probably get. But yeah. Also, like I said, we have UFC. UFC is back this weekend. I'm gonna get into my podcast parlay. All my other bets will be on the Patreon. Let me go ahead and pull up the card here on the UFC website for the Gastelum and Imavov. I feel really bad for Kelvin Gastelum because the UFC just keeps giving him killers. And he's kind of at this. I mean, he's on I don't know what his streak is right now. He's lost like however many out of his last however many. It's not good, and it's crazy because he was like one of the best middleweights in the world. He still definitely is one of the best middleweights in the world, but he's been fighting a lot of tough guys, and he's been stepping in on a lot of tough spots, short notice spots. And I don't know. I mean, he's a company guy. He's done a lot of good things for the company, but I don't know, man. I just kind of feel bad for him because he was really at a position where he should have been fighting for the title. Fought for an interim championship against Adesanya, and I mean, obviously that was a tough. I mean, you can't turn an opportunity like that down. I mean, Adesanya wasn't as big of a name as he is now, but he still was a pretty big name, and obviously fighting against a big name like that for a interim title was a big gamble, didn't pay off, and it's been tough ever since then. Let me go ahead and switch over to this screen. Bam. How we looking? Let me see. Make sure we're cooking. Okay, we're cooking. Okay, let's go all the way down. Oh my God. Charles Johnson actually fought recently. Priscilla Cachoeira versus Jara Eubanks. Honestly don't know in this fight. I'm gonna go with Cachoeira because I think I remember she had a fight, her last fight. I don't know if it was her last fight or 2 fights ago, but she was basically a zombie. She was walking this girl down. I think she basically won the fight because she was just such a good punching bag, and eventually wore the girl out because the girl was basically punching herself out, and then Priscilla just had pressure and was putting it on her. I'm gonna go with Cachoeira. Again, none of these are official predictions. Well, all official predictions on the Patreon. Charles Johnson, Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick's actually coming back from retirement, I believe. Jimmy the Brick Flick. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think he is coming back from retirement. Charles Johnson fought recently. I'm going to go with Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson is just really skilled. He's fought a lot of tough guys. I mean, his first 2 fights in the UFC, he's fought some tough dudes. And I think just the activity. Jimmy Flick's a pretty tough guy as well. He's got some really slick jiu-jitsu. I'm pretty sure he won like his UFC debut in a flying triangle. But Charles Johnson's got some pretty solid grappling. Hung in there against a really good grappler, Muhammad Makayev. I think that excuse me, I think Charles Johnson will probably be able to get it done just based off of you know, the recency and or being active in the octagon more recent than Jimmy Flick, and again, just having a solid grappling background, which I think is what he'll need against Jimmy Flick. Uh, Dan Argetta and Isaac Dolgarian. I think I'm not familiar with Dolgarian. He must be new to the UFC. Off to looking at him. I'm gonna go with Dan Argetta though. It kind of makes me nervous because I'm pretty sure he cuts the most weight in the UFC. I feel like I've heard that somewhere. But he's a really solid grappler. Trains at a great gym as well in Team Alpha Male, and that gym is kind of tailored for guys with his build and his style. So I'm gonna go with Dan Argetta. Carlos Hernandez, Alan Nascimento. I'm going to go with Nascimento. Trains at Shoot the Box with Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira will probably be in his corner. I'm going to go with Nascimento. Mataush Madonica, I think that's how you say his name. I remember watching him on the Contender Series, actually. Knocked the dude out in like the first round. Pretty clean. I think it was really fast, too, like 40 seconds or something. Really clean striking. Didn't get to see much from him. Javid Basharat, also another Contender Series guy. I'm gonna probably go with him. I think I just seen more out of him. He seems really well rounded, and really tough guy. And I don't know. This will probably be an entertaining fight, to be honest with you. But I'm gonna go with Javid. Mateusz Rebicki and Nick Fiore. I'm not familiar with either of these guys. I'm gonna go with the Polish dude. Just no idea. I feel like the Polish guy is probably a good grappler. I have absolutely no idea. I've never heard of him, but that's based off his name and his where he's from. I'm gonna go ahead and say he's a pretty solid grappler. Lost my spot. Abdul Razak Al Hassan. So we're going with Claudio Ribeiro. Abdul Razak Al Hassan is on the all-time fade list. When he came back in the UFC after he had his time off, I was pretty big on him. I bet on him like 3 times, and I think he lost like all 3 times. So he's on the shadow ban list. I will not bet on Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I'm fading him in every spot. So we're going with Claudio Ribeiro. Umar Nurmagomedov and Hani Barcelos. This is actually a pretty high level fight. Hani Barcelos, though, I feel bad. I just feel like he didn't get the time in the UFC, or he didn't get the fights when he was younger. He's kind of now past his prime. I feel like really skilled guy. Kind of reminds me of like a great value Jose Aldo. But I just think he's really skilled, really high level. But I think his time's kind of past him. Umar, very tough grappler. I think both are going to be. This is going to be a very high level fight, and I think Umar's just younger. His pressure, his grappling, and his well-roundedness is just going to eventually wear on Howney. I think Howney's going to have a hard time defending the takedowns, and I think eventually it's going to wear him out. Moving up to Vieira versus Pennington. This is actually a pretty good fight. I don't know. This is a tough fight. I feel like every time I bet against Raquel Pennington, she always wins, but I'm probably going to go with Caitlin Vieira in this fight. Even though if I remember, I don't think Caitlin Vieira, I thought she won her last fight. I'm not 100% sure. Now I gotta look. Ketlin, that's not how you spell it. Ketlin Vieira. Let me see who she fought in her last fight. Wait, I probably could have just done this. Just do that before I start clicking around. Holly Holm. Oh, I don't know. Maybe she did win that fight. I don't know if I remember that fight. Anyways, I don't know. I'm gonna probably go with. Actually, you know what? I'm sticking with my gut. I'm gonna go with Raquel Pennington. I think she's gonna beat her. If Vieira is who I'm thinking, if I'm recalling correctly, I didn't think she won her last fight. Pennington's a really tough fighter as well. I'm gonna go with Raquel Pennington. Who knows? We'll see. Punahele Soriano. I can never say that right. And Roman Kopylov. I'm gonna go with Soriano. Kopylov's a tough fighter, but I think I don't know. I think he always ends up finding himself being the nail in fights. He's been very competitive in a lot of. I think it was who was it? Oh man, the Dagestani guy. I can't remember who the Dagestani guy fought. Albert Duraev. That's what it was. That was a really competitive fight, but eventually I think Duraev just put more pressure on him. I think he's got a lot of power, and I think he'll just eventually wear him out with pressure. So I'm gonna go Soriano. Dan Ige and Damon Jackson. That's actually this is an interesting. Let me see the odds. -115, -105. This is an interesting fight. Ige he was a really highly touted guy, and I feel like ever since they kind of projected him up the rankings, he kind of got exposed maybe for a lack of skill, or just he's also fighting a lot of really tough guys. But Damon Jackson's also a guy that every time he's an underdog, I always bet on him, and he always ends up like pulling it off. This is a really close fight. I'm gonna go with Damon Jackson just for the simple fact that I don't really believe that Ige is gonna be able to knock him out, and I mean, Ige likes to grapple as well. Damon Jackson, obviously a really good grappler. I think Damon Jackson will probably eventually just start wearing on him and maybe get some control time on him. I'm going to go with Damon Jackson though in this fight. Then the main event, Imavov and Gastelum. I'm just going to go with, I really like Kelvin Gastelum, but I think Imavov is just very, very skilled. He's obviously, he says he's from France, but I'm pretty sure he's actually from Dagestan. He's got really good, not maybe as the same level as like some other Dagestani guys is wrestling, but he's got pretty good wrestling. Definitely gonna be just as competitive, if not better, than Gaslam's. And then just on the feet, I think he's going to be big. He's rangy. If he uses his range right and he doesn't try to get in like firefights, kind of like he did in the Joaquin Buckley fight, I think he can just coast to a victory. But who knows? Gaslam's got some power in those hands. If we can find a way to get inside, land some hooks, he could easily rock Imavov and maybe put him out. I'm probably going to go with Imavov. Official bets, as always, like I said, are going to be in the Patreon. As for the parlay, let me go ahead and pull up actually my DraftKings here on my phone. Let me go back. Let me change the scene over so we're on the. There we go. Let me check what the chat's saying. Is there anything in the chat? Nothing in the chat. Let me pull up not Patreon. DraftKings. I shouldn't say DraftKings. I don't use DraftKings unless DraftKings wants to pay me. I use this other sports book, this random sports book. Here we go. Here we go. The podcast parlay, -110 odds. I'm gonna basically just I'm gonna say this is a 1 unit, -110. So you'll probably put like 10, win like 17, $18. Not 100% sure. You'd think I know from the amount of betting that I do, but -110. First leg, I guess in card order. Make sure this is right. Okay, we have Alan Nascimento, -345 favorite. And then the fight directly after, we're going to go with Javid Bashrat, -345 as well, a favorite. And then going down to the fight that I hyped up as a very high level fight, we have Umar Nurmagomedov against Hani Barcelos. We're taking Nurmagomedov -675. I would say we're going to take a money line. I would say maybe look into some of the props. I don't know if I'm necessarily confident that I'll be able to finish him. Maybe go with the over on this fight. Over 2.5 or over 1.5. I'm not sure, but I can't see what the odds are. Over 2.5 is -255. That might be a little bit more favorable. But I don't know. I'd like to see what if -1.5 is less than if over 1.5 is less than -165. I would go with that, but other than that, I think Umar just to win is a pretty safe bet. So we got Umar Nurmagomedov money line, Javid Bashrat money line, and Alan Nascimento money line. All pretty solid favorites. Lowest legs both being -345, so pretty much a fairly safe bet. -110. Go ahead and cash that with 1 unit. Check back with me next Monday. That's gonna wrap up. That's gonna conclude episode 21, I believe. It's been the first one in over a year. September 15th, 2021 was the last one. Here we are in 2023, back at it like a crack addict. I'll catch you guys next Monday. Maybe you'll see me in another video sometime this week. Let me know what you guys think of the new setup, the quality. If you guys have any critiques, let me know. Tell me if it sucks. Tell me it sucks. I don't know. Tell me what I can improve upon. But yeah, video ideas, podcast ideas, topics, whatever. Let me know in the comment section below. Till next time, I'll catch you guys next month.